Any opposed? We have old business, and that is to a municipal code report for ordinances and resolutions. I guess the code committee has something that they wanted to talk about.
I think Judy already.
She did, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is there anything to add on from the code committee?
No.
So we pretty much covered our tracks with where we're headed with this moving forward. Okay. New business, we have the Dorothy Fire Emergency Medical Services for 2021. Mr. Dilge, I did call you on this matter a couple of times. I didn't get a return call back, but nonetheless, where are we with this? It's my understanding that Buena Vista Township no longer wants to be part of the Dorothy, which common sense tells me that that'll definitely shave the costs down, their operating costs. Which hopefully will.
Mayor, so first of all, about your phone calls to me regarding this matter, you left voicemails that were so long and so comprehensive, I didn't see a need for us to speak. To tell you the truth, I have spoken with Chief Hand. He is in discussion with Buena Vista and doesn't see, he feels that they have enough cash runway, and Buena Vista may continue to hold up their annual payment despite the fact that they are going to take those services back themselves because they see it as a revenue stream for the city. Chief Hand thinks that it will be status quo for a good long time, and that if in fact there's anything to talk about, there won't be anything to talk about for a while. But since you brought it up, I don't want to belabor this, and I don't want to take anybody's time, but the cost of staffing that for the Dorothy Volunteer Fire Company is constant, irrespective of whether Buena Vista Township is in or they're out. They're still paying 2 EMTs, 3 shifts a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. And that costs what it costs. If they lose one of the participating municipalities as a revenue stream, then it probably makes it cost a little more for everybody else. Still, in keeping with what Mr. Moore said about an hour and a half ago, it's the least expensive way for us to do it.
Are they still moving forward to purchase a truck? An ambulance?
I don't know. They have 2 now. I don't know if they're buying another.
Because I remember that was a discussionable item that they talked about the last time that they appeared before us, which I think was right around the reorganization meeting, which was in the beginning of the year. And they said because of all the runs that they're doing, but, you know, Buena Vista Township is the furthest of their locations that they go to. Now they're not going to be doing that anymore. So do they still feel the need to buy a truck? Because that money that we're given is part of the formula to accommodate for getting a new truck.
Well, what they did was they built a truck out of an old truck, as I remember. I'm confused as to the economics that you're putting forth. If they have to pay 2 people 24 hours a day, they have to pay 2 people 24 hours a day. That's the biggest expense that they have, whether they're driving anywhere or not driving anywhere. The difference is if they're driving somewhere, they're getting paid for it. They're submitting an invoice and being paid for it. If they no longer have an opportunity to invoice in one direction and the 2 people are still there 24 hours a day, then cash starts to wither. It begins to cost more than what they're taking in. But I think, and especially based on the fact that I went to their August meeting, I think it was August or September meeting, and had the privilege of listening to their financial condition, they're in very good shape. I mean, they could go a while. They've done they're very good stewards, I'll put it that way. They're very good stewards of their money, and I think they'll be okay for a good long time. This is not something we have to worry about now. I'd say we won't hear from them again. But the worst case with this, we'd hear from them again in the spring. I don't think we're going to hear from them next. I think our Chief Hand got out in front of himself a little bit on that.
Okay. I'm just only asking on behalf of the residents in town who have entrusted all of us to carefully spend their money, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just simply asking questions just to be sure. I'm not saying, and I'm objectionable to it. I'm saying that I really need to know so that we have it on record. That's all. Okay. And I think it's incumbent upon us to do this. I see nothing, no harm and no foul. Moving down the line here, we have the library book kiosk. There is a resident in town who is still wanting to put up a small little kiosk. They are going to give it to the city. They will be completely responsible for maintaining it, the installation of it, They will put it in the proper location based upon this printout that we have here that we got. I think that it's a phenomenal idea that it really should be done. We have our soccer field over here. There's a lot of people who will probably want to, they do go for a jog around the park, they go for a walk around the track. They may want to sit down and read a book or so, but I think it's a great idea. One of the things that I did read is that they think that it needs to be placed in a conspicuous area so that people that are driving by, they can see it. So with that being said, we'll figure it out as to where it will be conspicuous to be seen as people are driving by. And I would like to move forward to have this completed. I understand, according to Jim Mallon, there is no additional cost with our premium to the JIF. There's no additional exposures that we have to be concerned with. It's all followed under the current policy that we have. It's included. So I would like to move forward to authorize the nice couple that wants to donate this and install it and put it up on their time. I think it's a wonderful idea for kids and for adults.
Mr. Mayor, can I be heard?
Yes.
I don't know if it was in a conversation with you, Mayor, or with the whole council, I don't remember. I think listen, if this were a commercial enterprise, I would be saying they need to buy insurance, name this as an additional insured, enter into a license agreement with indemnification. I get that this is a volunteer thing. I saw on the Philadelphia News that these are going up all over the suburbs of Philadelphia. So what I would recommend, however, is that the city require a license agreement with the individual so that there's a termination or a right to terminate, because if it's not being maintained, you're going to want it removed. And you're also going to want them to at least indemnify you from any claim. If a child catches their finger in the door or loses a finger, God forbid, you're going to want some indemnification. I realize you have
from them, Randy. It's going to be municipal. It's going to be municipal property.
No, it's on municipal.
It's going to be municipal property. They're giving it to us. They're going to install it. They're going to give it to us, and in the event that we decide that we no longer want it, we give it back to them. But it's going to be municipal property. I guess we would probably have to do that through a resolution to accept.
So they're giving you the kiosk, and you're installing it.
No, they're going to install it. They're going to be totally responsible in maintaining it, supplying books, changing the books around. By the way, the one person, she's actually, in fact, a school teacher. That's why she's so gung-ho and wanting to do this.
And Mayor, they're not giving it to you. What they're doing is they're using your property because they expect the kiosk back when you no longer want it on your property, correct?
I don't anticipate in the foreseeable future, Mr. Lafferty, in all due respect, that we're going to want to get that taken off of there. Unless it turns out to be a serious problem, and then, yeah, we could take it down. But I don't want to see this be a complicated mess. It's a very, very noble gesture and thought when you have two young people in our community that want to become involved. We're living in a world nowadays where nobody wants to get involved and be bothered doing anything. They want to be left alone. These people, they want to be a part of the community for the kids, to be able to have an extra added benefit for their educational purposes, and adults as well. So rather than trying to find a way of how we can complicate this, I would love to be able to hear a way of how we can make this work so that it's going to be an enjoyable thing for the residents to use.
I'm not saying it's not a laudable idea, but I can't tell you how many laudable ideas end up in a mess because people haven't defined what their rights are. I think what you need to do, you need a simple license agreement that provides that they can maintain this kiosk on city property for whatever period of time you want to allow, with termination rights and with it being understood they're going to maintain it, they're going to paint it, they're going to do whatever is required to maintain it, and that the city has the right to request that it be removed.
Put that together into an agreement and I'll present it to them.
Well, I would like to see something, anything from the JIP that they will recognize it under our cover.
Mr. Moore, you want to elaborate on that? Because it's my understanding both you and Jim Mallon discussed this issue, and we got it pretty nailed down that there is no premium increase.
I'm not,
Go
I
ahead.
don't remember seeing that. I would have to look in the file that Jim Mallon gave me to look at that, but I think you're right, Mayor. There wasn't any issue with the JIP.
Jim Mallon made that very, very clear to me on the phone. He says there's no
issue.
extra exposure to the city by having something like that.
Yeah,
And it's like Mr. Lafferty said, these are springing up everywhere, these little miniature kiosks for
yeah,
books.
it's just like a little box, a wood
Oh,
box
it
or
is.
something, and people go there and lift up a thing, a door and put books in and take books out.
And they live right around the corner from here, so they're gonna be looking at it often, and I can assure you that they will maintain it properly. They're not gonna let it fall into disrepair. They're not gonna let it fall into, that there's gonna be no books in it or whatever. She's a school teacher and she will have plenty of books that she can put in there.
Right. And the city will have the option to take it out. I mean, if the thing's falling over or they don't do anything later on, or gets a bee's nest in it or something, just take it down.
Like the pile of broken picnic tables that are right next to the same area you're talking about putting this, that were donated by residents that are in the same area where you want to put this book kiosk.
Well, I can tell you, Mr. Dilge,
Given
that
what
contacted the
solicitor
Boy
has
Scouts.
calculated his potential physical risks represented by a new appliance, it would be nice to know, a couple of words from the JIF, could be with a crayon on a cocktail napkin, doesn't matter, that they recognize it as the city's responsibility and cover it under the existing policy. That's all. It's not a big deal. They do
That's
it every
something-
day. It's what they do.
That's something that the city clerk has to do,
Okay.
all right? By the way,
Or
I
anything.
was, by the way, I was the one who contacted the Boy Scouts a few years back, and to the best of my knowledge, they donated and made 8 brand-new picnic tables. 8 of them made out of pressure treat wood. We do still have them, correct?
It wasn't 8, it was fewer than 8, it was my son's Eagle project. But we're not talking about that now. We're talking about,
Was Michael Dreger your son's scoutmaster?
pardon me?
Was Michael Dreger your son's scoutmaster?
No, it was Scott Little and Doug Jones.
This is Michael Dreger, who was the Mage Landing scoutmaster, and he needed to have he had 2
Are they
scouts.
putting up a library kiosk too?
No, but Michael Dreger was the scoutmaster of Mage Landing, and he had 2 Eagle Scout projects that he wanted to do simultaneously. Michael is actually a retired police officer in Atlantic City, and also a part-time builder. And he worked with those kids, and I know that we had 8. I'm positive, without a shadow of doubt in my mind, we had 8 brand new.
I was there and did them with my son. But it's okay, because it doesn't really have anything to do with this kiosk.
So certainly, I gotta believe that if it was done
It's
that
a letter from the
recently.
JIF, that's all it is, an email or a letter.
The park benches are not falling apart, not the new ones that were made. There are some old ones around here, yes. And by the way, there was a resident who is now on our city council that took the time to paint them, in which I donated a couple gallons of paint to be painted.
Well, how about if I do this? I'll try to find the information that Mr. Mallon asked the JIF. I'm sure it's around here somewhere. And I'll see what that says. I will forward it to council. And if that meets the satisfaction of Mr. Dilge and the council, then at the December meeting, we can have that as a resolution to approve that. Is that okay?
Does that need to be done by resolution, Mr. Lafferty?
Or motion, whatever.
It does, it's gonna be a resolution to enter into a license agreement with these individuals.
Okay, so you'll have that resolution
Mr. Moore,
ready.
it doesn't matter what I think of it. I'm concerned with, if the solicitor gives it a nod, it's fine.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to move the situation along here.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And Mr. Mayor, I will need the names of the people that are gonna maintain this.
I will call you tomorrow, and I will give you their phone number, and I will give it, it's a private cell number. I don't just like to give that out over the phone or even the name of the people. I want to make sure that they're okay with that. I don't know if they want this to be public.
All I need are their names and address.
I will be more than glad to supply that to you tomorrow, but not right at this moment.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, let's go on to number 3 here. Okay.
Yeah. We have, the safety of City Hall being open to the public. I believe, Mr. Olson, you asked to have this on the agenda, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you want to, discuss this matter? Being as it was your,
The personnel committee had a discussion, and we thought we'd bring it up to council and talk about it. Is it in the best interest to keep City Hall open? Or do we want to do something like keep it open by appointment, because of rising COVID cases and just to keep our employees safe? So we kind of wanted to get all of council's thoughts and discuss it from here.
has there been any recommendations from the state that, they're requesting for us to, shut down public buildings? I mean, in the infancy of this COVID-19, pandemic, everybody was all ordered to shut down and we were all scrambling, but I mean, have we now established, safety procedures to the point now where we're relatively okay as long as you come in here and you wear a mask? You're mandated that you have to have a mask on. You know, we've learned a lot since when this first happened. So the reality is, do we need to now close it down again, even if there was going to be a spike up increase? Yeah, if there's a spike, and if you're not practicing safety precautions, yeah, if you're in contact with somebody, you can catch it. But if you're coming in here all masked up, and I personally think that our employees are safe. They operate behind a glass window over there. So, do we need to shut the building down? I don't know.
Mayor, can I add something anecdotally?
Please.
I can tell you, this week, I had an issue with Social Security, a personal issue. And I wanted an in-person meeting. And they sent mail that said that Social Security is only available to people in dire situations. So I called there to try to schedule an appointment, and they refused. And then we ultimately resolved the issue over the phone. So I can tell you the federal buildings are not generally open to the public. No courthouse is open to the public anywhere. And there is a spike in COVID rates, as everybody knows from the news. So I'm just offering that anecdotally.
I'm not objectionable to the building being closed. What I do want to be sure is that the residents of this town are without doubt going to be able to do the city business that they need to do without restrictions that they can't get in or whatever. I mean, let's face it, if somebody comes in, they need to get a marriage license, they want a new resident wants to get a dog license. There's a variety of things that they may need to come in over here to do. If they want to file an open request, that can be done by email, so you don't have to come in for that. But there are some things that are a requirement that they do need to come in for. And are we going to be able to provide their convenience to be able to do city business? That's the only thing that I want to be assured of. If so, then I'm not objectionable at all to having the building shut down. I just want to be sure that our residents will be able to facilitate whatever needs that they need to take care of for their own personal use. So if council just simply, I guess the personnel committee has probably already walked through that process about how that's gonna be done in the event that, the building's shut down. At least I would assume that.
Not entirely, but I think Mrs. Owen has something to say.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. A lot of municipalities are still closed to the public. I call on a regular basis to get information and to do work that I need to do, and a lot of them are still closed, and I do feel that it is in our employees' best interest that we keep it closed, and then just simply have a sign on the outside that says, if you need an appointment, then please call, and we can schedule an appointment to have anything done that they might need to do in person.
So that's a step in a positive direction. I'm just wanting to be sure that our residents are going to be able to have access to, do what they need to do. And, yes, okay, fine. So if you feel that the building should be, shut back down again, Is that going to affect the hours of the employees?
Not shut down, but open by appointment only, to limit the amount of traffic through the building and, things like that, the amount of people in the building at one time.
But if you're gonna have 10 people per week that need to use a building, I mean, they're gonna still have 10 people by limiting,
Yeah, but it'll give you
So, I
time
mean-
to space it out, to clean in between, there won't be 10 people there at once.
Do you think maybe having the building open, not open to the public, but to be able to do city business, just to save on some of the cleaning cost or whatever, maybe have it like, 3 days a week? What are we now, 4 days or 5?
4.
4, right?
Mhm.
Monday it's closed or Friday?
Monday's closed.
Monday's-
Oh, I'm sorry, Friday's closed.
Friday's closed,
So
so,
it's just 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm sorry. Teresa's here on Monday.
Teresa's here on Monday, but is the public allowed in?
No, but
How many days, the public has access 3 days?
the public has access 3 days, but what's happening is when Teresa's here and they see her car, people come up and knock on the door, and she's kind enough to let them in and take care of business depending on what it is. Like if they need a notary, they want to drop something off. So I can tell you that I work for several other municipalities, the buildings are closed, but they call, they see the number on the website or, by appointment or on the door, and they call, and generally the employees are very helpful, and if someone calls and say, hey, can I come over at 10 o'clock? And if Teresa or whoever's here says yes, okay, come on over. It's not like, oh, we'll come back 2 weeks from now on a certain date and we'll accommodate you. We'll generally accommodate anybody all day long. It's just that like what Mr. Olson's saying is that they just call first. The doors will be locked. Under no circumstance should we let anybody in without them calling first and getting permission. They just can't come up here and start knocking on the door and expect us to come open that door all the time.
I agree.
So that way you can't have several people coming in here. I've been here when that happens. And it's just our natural I've done it myself, gone to the door and somebody will ask me something or give me papers to give to somebody. So, it's just hit or miss, but it's a point well taken. So you might want to consider closing it for the time being and just go by appointment only.
Okay.
And people call all day, they email. It's not like we're not answering the public. We are communicating with people. I was here Friday, no one was here. The phone answered several times, and I picked up the phone and talked to somebody, and they were very appreciative that I give them information about zoning officer, or I forget what the other thing was, but they were pleased that, hey, we know the building's closed, but you answer the phone.
No, and did you have something else to add?
By no means do I suggest cutting back on the cleaning of the building. Because you have no idea, even with the employees coming in, like it needs to be cleaned as often as we're having it done now.
Yeah, it's still gonna be maintained that on the, well, we're cleaning it 3 times, and any time that the building is used for extracurricular activities, such as we're having a Pinelands Municipal Council meeting on November the 24th. So the building's gonna be open here. It's gonna be run by virtual, but the officers will be here,
Mhm.
and I have to be here as well as the host.
Okay. Well, is it okay if everyone's in agreement, or you want to make a motion for this? Starting perhaps tomorrow, I can tell Teresa to put it on the website and make the signs and start it.
I got a couple things I'd like to add, just so that we, with the 5 of us and all those who might be listening, have a little more background on what brought us to this. We've had an employee who was COVID positive and became very ill, number 1. Number 2, we've had, even before that happened, we've had a couple of employees who threatened to just plain leave and not come back if we couldn't limit the population inside the offices. And since then, we've put some new rules in place to isolate the clerk's office from the tax office, etc. Further, this time a month ago, when we had an employee fall ill and there was a need for notification of all the folks who'd been in and out of the building, and a notice went out to all of council, and to all employees, we didn't even do a good job of actually getting that notice to all of council or all employees, or even letting them know that they then had to go and get tested. Had there not been kind of a quick acting backup to that, they still might not know. So we need, number one, it's a good idea to have people come by appointment only, just so that we can calculate and manage the load in the building. Because even with people coming by appointment, you don't know when Public Works may need to come or go. You don't know when the mail person's going to come and go. You don't know when a member of council may stop by City Hall. And it is important that we maintain social distancing. The easiest way to manage that is to limit the population within the building. It's good sense. Mr. Olson's absolutely right. We've learned, we've been at this now for 6 months, we've learned from it. We should have improved our procedures by now. This is a good time to do it. We're 6 months in, we know some better ways to do it, and I don't think we're gonna make the public mad. Everywhere they go, they've got this kind of stuff. Weymouth still hasn't opened their city hall.
They have not?
No,
I thought they have.
No,
they have not, no.
I thought that they're having their meetings over there.
no.
Well, they're coming in for the meetings, but the public isn't coming in that I'm aware of, and the office is closed. But can someone want to make a motion that we do this and then we can get to the next topic?
I'll make the necessary motion. Is there a second?
Well, please state your motion.
For the resolution, or for the, item that we have for discussion about the, use of the building, and it's, being closed. Motion to close the building to the public, in which, access will only be by appointment only. Mr. Olson, do you want?
Stipulate that what we're going to do is entertain residents as necessary by appointment. We're going to post that on the two doors and on the website. Give them the phone number.
I'm sure that our office staff will take care of all the necessary arrangements to put a sign out there on the door. That's all standard procedure. We're just making the motion to shut the building down by appointment only. That's my motion.
Leadership and direction, Mayor. We do a good job of criticizing them when we're not happy with what they've done, so we should do a good job of explaining what our needs are. We should put signs on the two doors. We should put it on the website. We should give them the phone number and the extension number and the name of the person to speak with.
That's exactly correct.
Thank you. I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving down the line here, we have, a discussion on PEG channel for government and education. I actually, in fact, don't have that in my, packet.
I don't have, let me see if I have something. I believe that there was something by you, Mr. Olson, that you were talking
Yeah.
about that. I'm sorry.
We got some information on it. I asked Jennifer to reach out to them. I think we could hold off till next meeting for that, if that's all right.
What exactly is it, Matt, or Mr. Olson?
It's about having the public access channel for the meetings. It's a little more complicated than when we approved last time.
Okay.
And there's a couple more options, but Jennifer has the full detail. I mean, Mrs. Blumenthal, sorry.
All right, so we'll just table this until, next month when you have better information to, provide to us. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, moving down the line here, we have, Municipal Alliance Committee. The administrative consultant, Mrs. Blumenthal, has been, discussing this issue. I've had a couple conversations with her. We need to do something, although that one letter that I gave you, Mr. Moore, seems to say something a little bit differently about where we stand with this here. My understanding, we're still okay, contrary to what that letter says, that, October the 30th, we're done. And according to that there, it says we have no activity scheduled for all of 2021. Read that.
Well,
Or is that a misprint, you think?
this letter from Ms. Blumenthal said that Estell Manor had limited time to decide its involvement in the Municipal Alliance grant for the next grant cycle that begins July 1st, 2022. So Estell Manor has considered partaking in the consortium rather than remaining independent. And so we have three options for the 4-year fiscal year 22, because apparently they're not having it next year. Number one, remain in the grant program independently. Number two, remove itself from the fiscal year 22 grant cycle. Or three, join a municipal alliance program in another community. And then Mrs. Blumenthal goes on to explain all that information, which I think she has copied council on it. I thought so anyway.
I would actually like to, have that discussed at our, I'd like to have a meeting next week, and we'll have that on there as well. It's getting a little later now, but
Yeah.
she's not with us tonight, I don't believe, and I think that being